The gunshot victim hit the floor before anyone screamed. Emergency doors slammed open and Ethan Voss came through like a wrecking ball. 7 feet of muscle, eyes rolled back, fists swinging blind. He caught a security guard across the jaw and sent him into a supply cart. Another guard went for his radio and got thrown into the wall hard enough to crack plaster. People scattered. Someone yelled for a sedative. Someone else ran. Then a small woman in blue scrubs stepped into his path. No backup, no weapon, just her. Ethan lunged. She sidestepped, caught his wrist mid-swing, twisted once, and dropped him to his knees without a sound. 3 seconds. No bruises. He blinked up at her confused, then slumped forward, breathing steady. The ER went silent. Dr. Marcus Hale stood frozen, syringe still in hand. "What the hell just did you—" "Pressure point," she said quietly. "He's fine. Just needs fluids and a psych eval." No one moved. No one spoke. The woman adjusted her ponytail, checked Ethan's pulse, and walked back to the nurse's station like nothing happened. Her name was Ava Lane. 28. Rookie nurse. Hired 2 weeks ago. And no one had any idea what she really was. If you want to see how far a quiet person can go when the world finally pushes too hard, stay with me till the end. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Let's go. Ava Lane learned early that being underestimated was a gift. People saw a small frame, soft voice, careful hands. They saw someone who'd fold under pressure. Someone forgettable. She didn't correct them. She'd spent years in places where being noticed got you killed and old habits stuck. Even now, 2 weeks into her civilian nursing job at Crescent Point General, she kept her head down and her past buried. The ER was chaos on a good day. Tonight wasn't a good day. "Lane, restock trauma 2, now." Charge nurse Diane Pruitt didn't look up from her tablet. Her tone was clipped, dismissive. Ava had heard it before, from people who thought new meant useless. "Yes, ma'am." She grabbed supplies and moved through the corridor. Around her, the night shift churned. Residents shouting orders, paramedics wheeling in stretchers, monitors beeping in overlapping rhythms. It was noise, but it was predictable noise. Ava preferred predictable. The hospital sat on the edge of Crescent Point, a mid-sized coastal city that pretended to be bigger than it was. The ER served everyone: dock workers with mangled hands, college kids with alcohol poisoning, homeless veterans with infections that should have killed them months ago. It was messy, underfunded, and perpetually short-staffed, perfect for someone who wanted to disappear. Ava had been in town for 3 months, rented a studio apartment above a laundromat, paid in cash, kept her phone off when she wasn't working. She'd built a life designed to be temporary, because temporary meant safe. Then Ethan Voss came through the doors. The crash was immediate. He didn't walk in, he exploded in. A security guard tried to grab his arm and got flung sideways into a crash cart. IV poles clattered. A nurse screamed. Ethan's eyes were wild, pupils blown, chest heaving. Whatever he was on, it had turned off every break in his brain. "Someone get a sedative," Diane's voice cracked. Ava set down the supply bin and stepped forward. "Lane, stay back." She didn't. Ethan was already swinging at Dr. Hale, who stumbled backward, syringe tumbling from his hand. Ava moved into Ethan's line of sight, hands low, non-threatening. He turned toward her, fist cocked. She waited. He threw the punch. She angled left, caught his wrist, rotated her hips, and applied pressure to the nerve cluster just below his thumb. Ethan's knees buckled. His momentum carried him down, but Ava controlled the fall, easing him onto his side. No impact, no injury, just gravity and anatomy. 3 seconds. The ER went dead quiet. Ethan blinked up at her, dazed but breathing steady. Ava checked his pulse, elevated but stable, then looked up at the circle of stunned faces. "He'll be okay. Probable amphetamine overdose. He needs fluids, a talk screen, and someone from psych." Dr. Hale stared. "How did you—" "Pressure point," Ava said. "Non-lethal, non-damaging. He just needs to sleep it off." She stood, brushed off her knees, and walked back to the nurse's station. Behind her, Diane was already barking orders. Get him on a gurney, start an IV, page psych. But Ava didn't wait for thanks. She knew better. People didn't thank you for being good at something they didn't understand. They just got suspicious. She logged the incident in her chart notes, kept it clinical. Patient presented with acute agitation and violent behavior. Non-pharmacological intervention successful. Vital stable post-intervention. Recommended psychiatric evaluation. Nothing that would raise flags. But when she looked up, she saw Dr. Hale watching her from across the room. His expression wasn't grateful. It was calculating. Then, by midnight, the whispers had started. Ava restocked Trauma 2 like nothing had happened, but she felt eyes on her. Residents glancing over charts. Nurses murmuring near the break room. Even the janitor gave her a longer look than usual. She didn't care. She'd deal with it the way she always did, by being quiet, competent, and forgettable. Then Dr. Marcus Hale cornered her near the supply closet. "Lane, a word." He was mid-40s, sharp-eyed, with the kind of reputation that made residents nervous. Ava had heard the stories. Brilliant diagnostician, zero tolerance for incompetence, and a mean streak when he smelled bullshit. He'd been at Crescent Point for 10 years, turned down offers from bigger hospitals, and ran the ER like a field commander. She followed him into an empty exam room. He shut the door. "Where'd you learn that?" "Learn what?" "Don't play dumb. That takedown. That wasn't something you picked up in nursing school." Ava kept her expression neutral. "I took a self-defense class in college." "Bullshit." Hale crossed his arms. "I've seen bouncers, cops, even a few ex-military types try to handle patients like Voss. None of them moved like you. So I'll ask again. Where'd you learn it?" She met his eyes, steady, unflinching. "I don't know what you want me to say, Dr. Hale. I saw someone in danger. I intervened. That's my job." He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Fine. Keep your secrets. But if you're hiding something that puts this hospital at risk, I will find out." He left. Ava exhaled, leaning against the wall. Her hands were steady, but her pulse was faster than she liked. She'd known this would happen eventually. The moment someone looked too close, asked too many questions, started pulling threads. She just hadn't expected it on week 2. She finished her shift in silence, clocked out at 7 a.m., walked to her car in the employee lot. The sun was just coming up over the harbor, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it felt like a countdown. 10. The next night, Ava arrived for her shift and found Diane waiting at the nurse's station. "Lane, you're shadowing Dr. Brennan in PEDS tonight." Ava blinked. "I'm assigned to trauma." "Not anymore. Administration thinks you need more, foundational experience before handling high-acuity cases." Translation: someone upstairs got spooked and wanted her away from anything that might go sideways. Ava nodded. "Understood." Pediatrics was on the second floor, quieter than the ER, but no less draining. Sick kids had a way of breaking through walls Ava usually kept up. She spent the first 2 hours checking vitals on sleeping toddlers, restocking blankets, and trying not to think about how fast her career was getting buried. Dr. Brennan was in her late 50s, competent but territorial. She'd been at Crescent Point since the building opened and treated new staff like probationary inmates. "Lane, those discharge papers need signatures. Follow up on room 12. And don't touch the med cart without asking." "Yes, doctor." Ava worked through the tasks methodically, kept her head down, didn't make waves. Then a mother ran in carrying a 4-year-old boy, his lips blue, eyes bulging. "He's choking. Please." Dr. Brennan was in another room. The other nurse froze. Ava moved. She took the boy, tilted him forward, and delivered 5 sharp back blows between his shoulder blades. Nothing. She flipped him, braced him against her thigh, and gave 5 abdominal thrusts. A plastic toy soldier shot out of his mouth and clattered across the floor. The boy gasped, coughed, then started crying. Ava handed him back to his mother. "He's okay. Let's get him checked out to be sure." The mother was sobbing, clutching her son. "Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you." Ava nodded and stepped back. Dr. Brennan appeared, looking rattled. "What happened?" "Foreign body obstruction," Ava said. "Cleared. He's stable." Brennan stared at the toy soldier on the floor, then at Ava. "You didn't wait for me." "There wasn't time." Brennan's jaw tightened. "Next time, page me first. We have protocols for a reason." Ava said nothing. She knew what this was. It wasn't about protocols. It was about control, about making sure the new nurse knew her place. She went back to the station and logged the incident. No one said thank you. No one said good job. They just watched her a little more carefully. The rest of the shift passed in tense silence. Ava finished her charting, restocked supplies, and avoided eye contact. When she finally clocked out, her shoulders ached from holding tension she couldn't release. She sat in her car for 10 minutes, staring at the steering wheel. This was supposed to be different. Civilian life. Normal work. A place where saving lives mattered more than rank. But the rules were the same. Don't stand out. Don't challenge authority. Don't be better than the people above you. She'd left one hierarchy just to find another. By the end of the week, Ava had saved 3 lives and earned 0 friends. She'd caught a misdiagnosis, appendicitis masquerading as stomach flu, before it turned septic. The patient was a 19-year-old college student who'd been sent home twice with antacids. Ava had seen the rebound tenderness, the fever spike, the way he guarded his right side. She'd pushed for a CT scan over the resident's objection. The scan showed a ruptured appendix. Emergency surgery. Kid survived. The resident got credit for the save. Then there was the post-op patient in recovery, a woman in her 60s who'd had a routine knee replacement. Ava noticed her breathing was off. Shallow. Fast. Skin flushed. The charge nurse said it was anxiety. Ava checked her chart, saw the patient had a shellfish allergy, checked the post-op meds, saw they'd given her a contrast dye that contained iodine. Anaphylaxis. Ava called it, got her on epinephrine, stopped the reaction before her airway closed. Dr. Hale happened to be passing by. He saw the whole thing. Good catch, Lane. That was it. 2 words, no formal recognition, no chart note crediting her, just 2 words and a nod. The other nurses didn't even give her that much. Then there was the drunk. Saturday night, guy in his 40s, belligerent, reeking of whiskey, yelling at anyone who came near. Security was tied up with another patient. The attending wanted to sedate him, but the guy had a head injury and sedation could mask a bleed. Ava walked up to him. Sir, I need you to sit down. Fuck off. I understand you're upset, but I can't help you if you're standing. I said fuck off. Ava didn't flinch. She pulled up a chair, sat down in front of him, and spoke quietly. You hit your head. You're scared. You don't know if you're okay. I get it. But fighting me won't fix that. Sitting down will. He stared at her, swaying, fists clenched. Then slowly, he sat. Ava checked his pupils, ordered a CT, kept him talking until the scan came back clean. No one thanked her for that either, but Dr. Hale saw it, and he started asking more questions. It was 11 p.m. on a Friday when the dispatch came through. Mass casualty incident. Chemical fire at an industrial plant on the city's south side. Multiple victims. Burns, respiratory distress, possible toxic exposure. The ER exploded into motion. Diane was shouting orders, coordinating triage zones. Dr. Hale and the trauma team prepped for incoming criticals. Nurses scrambled to clear beds and stock burn supplies. Residents pulled on gowns and gloves. The air smelled like adrenaline and disinfectant. Ava stayed at her station waiting for assignment. No one called her name. She watched the chaos unfold, residents running, equipment rolling, voices overlapping, and felt the old instinct kick in, the one that didn't wait for orders, the one that saw the problem and solved it. The first ambulance arrived. Paramedics wheeled in a man, mid-30s, skin blistered and peeling, gasping through an oxygen mask. His clothes were half burned off. The air around him smelled acrid, chemical. Diane pointed him toward Trauma 1. Get him on high-flow O2 and start fluids. Wait! Ava stepped forward. Don't put him with the others. Diane turned, incredulous. Excuse me? He's got chemical burns. If he's been exposed to an alkaline agent, cross-contamination will spread it. You need a separate zone. Lane, I don't have time for theories. It's not a theory. Ava's voice was calm but firm. Look at the burn pattern. It's not heat, it's chemical. If you mix him with thermal burns and use the wrong irrigation, you'll make it worse. Hale looked up from across the room, his eyes locked on Ava. She's right. Separate triage. Now. Diane's mouth tightened, but she nodded. Fine. Set it up. Ava moved fast. She cleared a corner of the ER, set up a decon station with sterile water and pH-neutral irrigation, and started coordinating incoming patients by exposure type. Thermal burns went left. Chemical exposure went right. Respiratory cases stayed isolated. More ambulances arrived. More victims. A woman with second-degree burns across her arms. A man vomiting blood from inhaled fumes. A teenager with chemical splashes on his face, screaming that he couldn't see. The ER became a war zone. And Ava, quiet, dismissed, supposedly inexperienced Ava, became the center of it. She moved between stations, adjusting IVs, calling out corrections, redirecting residents who were about to make critical mistakes. That's not saline, that's lactated ringers. Wrong choice for a burn patient. You'll throw off his electrolytes. A resident hesitated. But the protocol says, the protocol's for thermal burns. This is chemical. Use normal saline. He switched it. Another station. A nurse was preparing to intubate a patient with respiratory distress. Don't intubate yet, Ava said. His airway's patent. You'll do more damage forcing a tube down swollen tissue. Get me a nasal cannula and watch his O2 sat. If it drops below 90, then we talk about intubation. The nurse stared. Who the hell do you think? Do it. Dr. Hale's voice cut through. She's right. The nurse obeyed. Ava moved to the chemical exposure zone. A man was thrashing, skin turning gray, breathing labored. Get me sodium bicarb and start a drip. Now. A resident blinked. Sodium bicarb for what? Alkaline burns create a saponification reaction. The chemical keeps eating tissue unless you neutralize it. Bicarb stops the reaction. That's not... Do it or he loses that arm. The resident grabbed the bicarb. Ava watched the IV go in, watched the patient's breathing stabilize, watched the grayness fade from his skin. She moved to the next patient, and the next. People stopped questioning her. They just did what she said. Because when the stakes were life and death, competence didn't care about seniority. Somewhere in the chaos, Dr. Hale found himself standing next to her at the decon station. They were rinsing a patient's burns, working in sync. You've done this before, he said quietly. Ava didn't look at him. Done what? Mass casualty. Triage under fire. You're not guessing. You're not following protocols. You're running scenarios you've already lived. She kept working. I'm just a nurse, doctor. Bullshit. She met his eyes then. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then another ambulance arrived and the moment broke. By 3 a.m., the worst was over. 16 patients, 14 stable, 2 critical but holding. The ER looked like a battlefield. Blood-stained floors, discarded supplies everywhere. Exhausted staff slumped against walls. But everyone was breathing. Ava sat in the break room, hands wrapped around a coffee she hadn't touched. Her scrubs were stained with soot and blood. Her hair had come loose. She looked exhausted. Dr. Hale walked in. You did good tonight. She looked up. Just doing my job. That wasn't just a job. He sat down across from her. That was command. You saw the problem, built the solution, and made people listen. That's not something you learn in nursing school. Ava said nothing. I pulled your file, Hale continued. It's thin, too thin. No previous hospital experience. No references. Just a nursing license and a clean background check. It's like you didn't exist before 3 months ago. Her pulse ticked up, but her face stayed neutral. So I'll ask you one more time. Who are you really? Ava met his eyes. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then she said quietly, someone who's trying very hard to be normal. Hale studied her. And before that? Before that? She set down the coffee. I was someone who couldn't afford to fail. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. But whatever you were, Lane, you're damn good at this. Don't let them bury you. He stood and left. Ava sat alone in the break room, staring at her reflection in the dark window. She'd spent years running from the person she used to be. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, that person had saved lives. And she didn't know if that was progress or proof that she'd never really left. The fallout came Monday morning. Ava was called into the administrative office. Diane was there. So was the hospital's chief of staff, Dr. Raymond Collier, silver-haired, polished, the kind of man who smiled with his mouth but not his eyes. He ran Crescent Point like a corporation, not a hospital, Budget first, liability second, patients third. Miss Lane, sit. She sat. Collier folded his hands on the desk. We've received some concerns about your conduct during the mass casualty event Friday night. Ava frowned. Concerns? Several staff members reported that you overstepped your scope of practice, gave orders to physicians, contradicted senior nurses, made clinical decisions without proper authorization. I prevented cross-contamination and prioritized critical cases, Ava said evenly. People lived because of it. That may be true, Collier said, but this hospital operates on a chain of command, and when that chain is broken, it creates liability. If something had gone wrong, if a patient had died because you made a call outside your scope, this hospital would be facing a lawsuit. Do you understand that? Ava's jaw tightened. So you're saying I should have let people die to protect protocol? I'm saying, Collier said coldly, that you need to understand your role here. You're a nurse, not a doctor, not a commander, a nurse. And nurses follow orders. They don't give them. Diane spoke up. We're recommending a suspension, 2 weeks, unpaid, to give you time to reflect on appropriate professional boundaries. Ava stared at them. You're punishing me for saving lives. We're maintaining order, Collier said. This isn't personal, Miss Lane. It's institutional. We have rules for a reason, and if we make exceptions for you, we have to make exceptions for everyone. That's not how hospitals work. Ava stood. Then your institution has a problem. She walked out before they could respond. The hallway was empty. Her footsteps echoed. She made it to the stairwell before the anger hit. She'd been in worse situations. She'd faced worse people. But this, being punished for being competent, for doing the right thing, it cut deeper than she expected. Because she'd thought civilian life would be different. She'd thought saving lives would matter more than ego, more than hierarchy, more than covering your ass. She was wrong. Ava made it halfway to the parking lot before her hands started shaking. She leaned against her car, breathing slow, controlled. In through the nose, out through the mouth, the way she'd been taught, the way she'd taught others. A voice called out behind her. Lane! She turned. Dr. Hale was jogging toward her, looking furious. I just heard. That's bullshit. Complete bullshit. Ava shook her head. It's fine. I'll take the suspension. Like hell you will. I'm filing a grievance. I'll get every resident and nurse who was there Friday night to testify that you saved lives. We'll go to the board if we have to. It won't matter, Ava said quietly. Collier's already made up his mind, and if I fight this, he'll just find another reason to get rid of me. That's how this works. Hale stopped. So you're just going to walk away? She looked at him. I've walked away from worse. I don't believe that. Ava almost smiled. You should. Before he could respond, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then something, instinct maybe, made her pick up. Ava Lane? The voice was male, calm, unfamiliar. But something about the cadence, the flatness of the tone, sent ice down her spine. Who's this? Someone who's been watching you. You did good work Friday night, very good work. The kind of work that gets noticed. Ava's grip tightened on the phone. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And I think it's time we had a conversation. In person. I'm not interested. You will be. There's a coffee shop 2 blocks from your apartment. Mariner's Rest. Be there tomorrow, noon. Come alone. And if I don't? A pause. Then, almost amused. Then a lot of people are going to start asking questions about who you really are. And I don't think you want that. The line went dead. Ava stood in the parking lot, phone in hand, heart pounding. Dr. Hale was staring at her. Lane, you okay? She wasn't, because that voice, calm, measured, detached, was one she'd heard before, a lifetime ago. In a place she'd sworn she'd never go back to. And now, somehow, that place had found her. She didn't sleep that night. Ava sat on the edge of her bed, blinds drawn, phone face down on the nightstand. The voice on the call looped in her head, calm, controlled. The kind of voice that didn't make threats, it made promises. She knew that tone. She'd used it herself once. The apartment was small, spare. A futon, a dresser, a lamp. Nothing on the walls. Nothing personal. She'd lived here 3 months and it still looked like a hotel room. That was intentional. You didn't put down roots when you were ready to run, but running wasn't an option anymore. Whoever had called knew where she lived, knew her schedule, knew enough to wait until the exact moment she was vulnerable. That took resources and patience. At 6 a.m., she gave up on sleep, showered, dressed in jeans and a gray hoodie. Made coffee she didn't drink. By 11:30, she was standing outside Mariner's Rest, a hole-in-the-wall cafe 2 blocks from her building. The kind of place with chipped mugs and a chalkboard menu. A bell jingled when she pushed the door open. The place was nearly empty. An older man reading a newspaper, a woman with a laptop, and in the back corner, a man in his 50s, clean-shaven, wearing a dark jacket. He didn't look up when she walked in, but she knew he'd clocked her the second she entered. Ava bought a coffee she wouldn't drink and walked to his table. He gestured to the seat across from him. "Sit." She sat. Up close, she could see the details. Military posture, hands calm on the table, eyes that didn't blink often. The kind of face you forgot 5 minutes after seeing it, which meant he'd spent a career being forgettable. "You have a name?" Ava asked. "Moss. And before you ask, yes, it's real." "What do you want?" Moss smiled faintly. "Direct. I like that. Saves time." He slid a manila folder across the table. "Open it." Ava didn't touch it. "Why?" "Because you're going to want to see what's inside before you decide whether to walk out of here." She hesitated, then opened the folder. Inside were photos. High resolution, surveillance grade. The first showed her outside Crescent Point General. The second showed her entering her apartment. The third was taken through her window, her sitting at the kitchen table, back to the camera. Her stomach went cold. Moss watched her reaction. "You're careful, I'll give you that. No social media, no credit cards, cash rent, burner phone. You've done this before." "Done what?" "Disappeared." He leaned back. "But here's the thing about disappearing, Lane. It only works if no one's looking. And someone's looking." Ava set the photos down, kept her voice level. "Who?" "People who remember what you used to be. People who've been tracking you since you left." He paused. "And people who want to know why a combat medic with your record is working nights in a second-rate ER." The air left her lungs. Moss saw it. "There it is. I was wondering how long you'd keep the mask on." Ava's jaw tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. Captain Ava Lane, 82nd Airborne, 3 tours, decorated." Then suddenly, nothing. Medical discharge. Classified reasons. "You vanished for 2 years. Now you're here, pretending to be someone you're not." She didn't move, didn't blink. Moss leaned forward. "I'm not here to expose you. I'm here to offer you a job." "Not interested." "You haven't heard the offer." "Don't need to." Moss tilted his head. "You sure?" "Because from where I'm sitting, you've got 2 choices. You can keep playing nurse, keep your head down, hope no one else connects the dots, or you can do what you were trained to do and actually make a difference." Ava stood. "I'm done making differences. I'm done with people like you. People like me kept you alive. People like you got my team killed." The words came out harder than she intended. Moss didn't flinch. "That wasn't your fault," he said quietly. "You don't know what it was. I know you made a call. I know people died. I know you've been running from it ever since." He slid a business card across the table. "But running doesn't fix it, and deep down, you know that." Ava stared at the card, plain white, just a phone number. "When you're ready," Moss said, "call. The offer doesn't expire, but the window does." She turned and walked out without looking back. Outside, the air was sharp and cold. She made it half a block before her hands started shaking again. Not from fear, from rage. Because Moss was right. She'd been running, and it hadn't fixed anything. But going back wasn't an option either. She crumpled the business card and dropped it in a trash can, then kept walking. The streets of Crescent Point were starting to wake up. Morning joggers, dog walkers. People heading to jobs they hated but showed up for anyway. Ava envied them. Their problems were ordinary, manageable. They didn't have ghosts with Russian accents calling them in the middle of the night. She walked for an hour. No destination, just movement. By the time she circled back to her building, the sun was fully up and her legs were sore. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, unlocked the door, stepped inside, and froze. Someone had been here. Nothing obvious. No broken locks, no ransacked drawers. But the air felt different, disturbed. She'd spent years learning to read spaces, to notice when something was off. This was off. She scanned the room. The futon was exactly where she'd left it, the dresser untouched. But the kitchen chair, she'd left it angled out. Now it was pushed in. Her pulse spiked. She moved to the closet, pulled the door open, reached behind the winter coat she never wore and found the lockbox she'd bolted to the floor. Still there, still locked. She knelt, entered the combination. The lid popped open. Inside, a Glock 19, 2 spare mags, a fake passport, $10,000 in cash, and a single dog tag on a broken chain. Everything was still there. But someone had looked. Ava closed the box, locked it, stood slowly. Moss hadn't just been watching her. He'd been inside her home. The message was clear. "We can get to you any time." She grabbed her phone, pulled up recent calls, stared at the unknown number from yesterday. Her thumb hovered over it. Then she put the phone down. She wasn't going to give them the satisfaction. Instead, she went to the window, scanned the street below. A delivery truck, a couple arguing on the sidewalk, a taxi idling at the corner. Normal. Too normal. Ava pulled the blind shut and sat on the futon. Her mind was racing. Moss knew who she was, knew her history, which meant whoever he worked for had access to classified files. That narrowed the list. DODCIA, maybe Homeland, all organizations she'd sworn she was done with, but they weren't done with her. She thought about the photos in the folder, the level of detail, the intimacy of the surveillance. This wasn't some bureaucrat pulling strings from Washington. This was operational, active. Someone had been following her for weeks, maybe months, and she hadn't noticed. That bothered her more than anything. She'd gotten soft, complacent. She'd let herself believe that leaving the life meant the life would leave her. Stupid. The suspension officially started Tuesday. Ava spent the first day cleaning her apartment, scrubbing floors that didn't need scrubbing, organizing drawers that were already organized, anything to keep her hands busy and her mind off Moss. The second day, she ran. 8 miles along the harbor, pushing until her lungs burned and her legs felt like concrete. She used to run marathons during deployment. It was the only time her head went quiet. It didn't work anymore. By the third day, she was losing her mind. She needed to move, to do something, to be useful. So she went back to the hospital, not to work, just to watch. She parked across the street and sat in her car, windows cracked, radio off. The ER entrance was visible from here. She watched the ambulances come and go, watched the staff rotate shifts, watched the organized chaos she was no longer part of. It felt pathetic, but it was better than sitting alone. Around 9 p.m., Dr. Hale came out. He looked exhausted, scrubs wrinkled, coffee in hand. He walked to his car, then stopped, turned, looked directly at her. Ava swore under her breath. Hale walked over, tapped on her window. She rolled it down. "You stalking me, Lane?" "Just passing by." "Bullshit. You've been here 2 hours. I saw you when I came in." She didn't answer. Hale sighed, leaned against the car. "You know, most people use suspension to take a vacation. Go to the beach, sleep in, not sit in a parking lot like a creep. I'm not most people." "No kidding." He took a sip of coffee. "You miss it already, don't you?" Ava looked at the ER entrance. "I miss knowing what I'm supposed to do." "You mean you miss being needed?" She didn't answer. Hale was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "For what it's worth, I filed the grievance. Got 12 people to sign statements backing you up. Every resident who worked the chemical fire. 3 nurses. Even Diane, though she tried to weasel out of it. Collier buried it anyway." Ava's jaw tightened. "I told you it wouldn't matter." "Yeah, well, I had to try." He straightened. "Look, I don't know what you're running from, and I'm not going to ask, but you're good at this, Lane. Better than anyone I've seen in a long time. Don't let a bureaucrat with an ego complex take that from you." "It's not his call to take. I gave it away." Hale frowned. What does that mean? Ava shook her head. Nothing. Thanks for trying. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Get some sleep, Lane. You look like hell. He walked back to his car. Ava sat there for another hour, watching, waiting. For what? She didn't know. Eventually, she drove home. Friday morning, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then thought, what the hell? Lane. It's Moss. She hung up. The phone rang again. She answered. I told you I'm not interested. Then why are you still in Crescent Point? That's none of your business. It is if you're about to get yourself killed. Ava went still. What are you talking about? Check your email. The account you think no one knows about. I don't. Yes, you do. Check it. He hung up. Ava stared at the phone, then opened her laptop. Logged into an old Gmail account she'd set up years ago under a fake name. An account she'd never given to anyone. An account she used maybe twice a year. One new message. No subject. Sender. Anonymous. She opened it. Inside was a single image. A photo. Recent. It showed her sitting in her car outside the hospital. Timestamp. Last night. 9:47 p.m. The angle was high. Taken from a rooftop or upper floor across the street. Below the image, one line of text. They know where you are, and they're coming. Ava's blood went cold. She grabbed her go bag from the closet, checked the Glock, loaded a mag, chambered a round, then stopped. Whoever they were, running wouldn't help. She'd been running for 2 years. It hadn't worked. Running just meant dying tired. So she made a decision. She called Moss. He answered on the first ring. I knew you'd come around. Who's coming for me? People you pissed off a long time ago. People who don't forget. Names. Not over the phone. Meet me tonight, same place, 8 o'clock. I want answers first. Then you'll die waiting for them. The line went dead. Ava sat in the silence of her apartment, gun on the table, choices narrowing. She'd left the military to escape this, to get away from the violence, the lies, the people who treated human lives like chess pieces. But the past didn't let go that easily, and now it was knocking on her door. She spent the rest of the day preparing. She cleaned the Glock, checked the sights, loaded both spare mags. She rehearsed entry angles in her apartment, practiced drawing from concealment, ran through scenarios in her head, old habits, muscle memory. By the time evening came, she felt ready. But ready for what? She wasn't sure. She showed up at Mariner's Rest at 7:45. Moss was already there, same corner table. This time, he wasn't alone. A woman sat across from him, late 30s, sharp suit, short dark hair, cold eyes. She looked like a lawyer, but Ava knew better. Lawyers didn't carry themselves like operators. Ava sat. Who's this? Agent Ellison, Homeland Security. Ellison didn't offer a hand, just studied Ava like a specimen. You've made some dangerous enemies, Captain Lane. I'm not a captain anymore. Doesn't matter. They still remember you. Ava leaned back. Who's they? Ellison slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was a photo of a man, mid-40s, scarred face, dead eyes, Slavic features. Recognize him? Ava's stomach dropped. Konstantin Vorobev. Good memory. He's dead. I watched him bleed out in Kandahar. You watched someone bleed out? Ellison corrected. Wasn't him. Body was a double. Vorobev's been active ever since, trafficking, arms deals, contract kills, and 2 weeks ago he entered the country. Ava's mind raced. Vorobev had been a target during her last deployment. A black market arms dealer with connections to half a dozen terror networks. Russian mob ties. The kind of man who sold bullets to anyone with cash and didn't care what they did with them. She'd been part of the team sent to eliminate him. The mission had gone sideways. People died. She'd been blamed. And now he was here. Why? Ava asked. Because you killed his brother. Ava blinked. His brother wasn't on the target list. No, Ellison said, but he was in the building, collateral damage. You made the call to breach early. Intel said Vorobev was inside. You had a 30-second window. You took it. The building came down. Vorobev escaped. His brother didn't. Ava's chest tightened. She remembered that night, the desert heat, the smell of diesel and dust. The building, a warehouse on the outskirts of the city. They'd been tracking Vorobev for 3 months. The intel was solid, or it was supposed to be. But when they breached, the layout was wrong. The exits were different. And there were people inside who weren't supposed to be there. Civilians. She'd made the call anyway, because waiting would have meant losing the target. She'd been right, but people still died. "So this is revenge," Ava said quietly. "This is a reckoning," Moss said. "And you're not the only name on his list." Ellison swiped to the next image. A blonde woman, early 30s, familiar, tough eyes, scar on her chin. Ava's breath caught. "Riley. Staff Sergeant Riley Kern, your second in command. She's in Seattle now, private security, corporate gigs mostly." Another swipe. A man, stocky, tattooed arms, dark skin. Sergeant Paulo Dominguez, Phoenix, construction foreman, married, 2 kids. One more swipe. A younger man, boyish face, still looked like he was in high school. Corporal Jason Lim, still active duty, Fort Bragg, instructor now. Ava stared at the screen, her old team, the people she'd served with, the people she'd led into that building. "He's going after all of us," she said. "He already has," Moss said. "Dominguez was found dead 3 days ago. Phoenix PD ruled it a suicide, gunshot wound to the head, but the coroner found traces of a paralytic in his system. Same compound Russian operatives use for wet work." Ava's hands clenched into fists. "And you're just telling me this now?" "We needed confirmation," Ellison said. "We have it now. Vorobev's in the country. He's hunting your team, and based on the pattern, you're next." Ava stood. "Then I need to warn the others." "We already did. Lim's in protective custody at Bragg. Lockdown protocol. Kern refused. Says she can handle herself." "She can't. Not against him." Moss leaned forward. "Which is why we need you." Ava turned. "Need me for what?" "Bait." The word hung in the air like a gunshot. Ellison spoke. "Vorobev's careful. Surgical. He won't make a move unless he's sure of the kill. He's been tracking you for weeks, watching, learning your patterns, but he wants you most. You're the one who made the call, the one he blames. If we put you out in the open, he'll come. And when he does, we take him down." Ava laughed bitterly. "You want me to stand in the middle of a field and wait to get shot. We want you to help us end this," Moss said, "before anyone else dies. Lim's safe for now, but Kern's exposed. And if Vorobev gets to her, it's because we didn't act fast enough." Ava looked between them. "And if I say no? Then Vorobev keeps killing. He'll get to Kern, maybe Lim too eventually, and when he's done with them, he comes for you anyway. At least this way you have backup." Ava sat back down. Her mind churned. She didn't trust Moss, didn't trust Ellison, didn't trust anyone who treated lives like pieces on a board. But Paulo was dead. Riley and Jason were in danger, and if she ran, she'd spend the rest of her life looking over her shoulder. "What's the plan?" she asked. Moss smiled. "Now we're talking." The plan was simple. Too simple. Ava would return to work at Crescent Point, resume her normal routine, make herself visible. Vorobev would make his move, and when he did, a tactical team would be waiting. "He'll see the setup," Ava said. "Not if we're careful," Moss replied. "We'll keep the team off-site, eyes only, no visible presence, surveillance from adjacent buildings, undercover assets in the ER posing as patients. He won't know they're there." "He'll know. He's been doing this longer than you have." "Then you better be convincing." They gave her a wire, a panic button disguised as a pager clipped to her scrubs, and a promise that help would be less than 90 seconds away. Ava didn't believe the 90 seconds, but she agreed anyway, because Paulo was dead, and she owed him better than running. Ellison handed her a phone, encrypted. "You see anything suspicious? You call. You feel wrong about something? You call. You even think you see Vorobev? You call, and you get out. I'm not running from him. You're not dying for him either. This is a controlled operation. We dictate the terms." Ava took the phone. "When do I start?" "Monday. Your suspension ends Wednesday, but we convinced Collier to bring you back early. Staff shortage." He wasn't happy about it, but he agreed. Moss stood. One more thing. Vorobev doesn't work alone. He'll have assets, spotters, maybe a shooter. You won't see them coming. That's why you need to trust us. Ava met his eyes. I don't trust anyone. Smart, but you're going to have to make an exception. Monday morning, Ava walked back into Crescent Point General. Diane looked up from the nurse's station. Surprise flickered across her face. Lane? You're early. Suspension doesn't end till Wednesday. Dr. Collier called, Ava lied smoothly. Said they're short-staffed. Asked if I'd come back early. Diane's eyes narrowed. That doesn't sound like Collier. Call him if you want. Diane didn't. She just waved Ava toward the ER. Fine, trauma rotation. And Lane, don't screw up again. You won't get a third chance. Ava tied on her scrubs and got to work. Everything felt normal. Too normal. She restocked supplies, checked vitals on a post-op patient, assisted Dr. Hale with the laceration repair on a guy who'd put his hand through a window. And the whole time she felt eyes on her. Not from the staff, from somewhere else. The wire itched against her ribs. The pager sat heavy in her pocket. She forced herself not to touch it, not to look around too much. Just be normal. At lunch, she sat in the break room. Alone. The vending machine hummed in the corner. She unwrapped a sandwich she'd brought from home and ate mechanically. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her pulse spiked. She answered. Lane. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice. Accented. Russian. Calm. You don't remember me. But I remember you. Ava's blood froze. Vorobev? Good. You do remember. A pause. You killed my brother. You left him to burn. It was war. It was murder. The voice was calm, detached, worse than anger. You made a choice. You chose wrong. And now you pay. If you want me, come get me. A soft laugh. Patience, Captain. I am already closer than you think. The line went dead. Ava's hand shook as she lowered the phone. She hit the panic button on the pager. 30 seconds later, her encrypted phone buzzed. Moss's voice. We got the trace. He's close. Stay put. How close? Half a mile. Maybe less. Signal's bouncing. He's using a relay. Ava stood, walked to the window overlooking the parking lot, scanned the rows of cars. Nothing unusual. Then she saw it. A black SUV, tinted windows, engine running, parked in the far corner near the service entrance. Her heart hammered. Moss, black SUV, northeast corner of the lot. We see it. Teams moving in. Stay inside. Do not engage. Ava watched. The SUV sat there, idle. Then the driver's door opened. A man stepped out, tall, broad shoulders, wearing a maintenance uniform. Ball cap pulled low, he walked toward the hospital entrance. Ava's pulse spiked. Moss, he's coming inside. Copy. Eyes on him. 2 agents moving to intercept. The man disappeared through the automatic doors. Ava moved into the hallway. She scanned the ER. Residents rushing between rooms. Nurses at the station. Patients in triage. No sign of the man in the maintenance uniform. Then she saw him, standing at the nurse's station, talking to Diane. Diane pointed toward the break room. Ava's stomach dropped. She turned and walked quickly toward the stairwell. Not running. Running would draw attention, but moving with purpose. Behind her, footsteps. Steady. Unhurried. She hit the stairwell door, pushed through, started climbing. 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th. The footsteps followed. She burst through the door onto the roof access level. Locked door ahead. She pulled the emergency release. Alarm blared. She shoved through onto the roof. Cold air hit her. The city spread out below. Harbor to the east. Mountains to the west. Wind whipping. Footsteps behind her. She turned. The man in the maintenance uniform stepped onto the roof. He was younger than she expected. Mid-30s, calm expression. He reached into his jacket. Ava's hand went to her pocket. She didn't carry her Glock to work. Hospital policy. Stupid. The man pulled out a phone, held it up. On the screen, a live video feed. Riley Kern, bound to a chair. Duct tape over her mouth. Eyes wide with terror. Blood on her face. Ava's breath stopped. The man smiled. Vorobev sends his regards. Then the phone screen went white. An explosion. Not here. Somewhere else. The feed cut to static. Ava lunged forward. Where is she? The man dropped the phone, stepped back, and pulled a detonator from his pocket. You want to find her? He pressed a button. Nothing happened. Ava frowned. The man's smile widened. Wrong question, Captain. You should be asking, where is he? Then he jumped backward off the roof. Ava ran to the edge, looked down. The man hit an airbag deployed in the alley below, bounced, rolled, got up, ran. Ava swore, turned, and saw it, carved into the concrete near the roof access door. Fresh. Deep. You're next. Her encrypted phone buzzed. Moss. Lane, report. What happened? He was here. But it wasn't Vorobev. A messenger. He showed me Riley. She's alive, or she was. Where? I don't know. The feed cut. We lost the guy in the SUV. He bailed before we could close in. Lane, get out of there. Now. Ava looked at the message carved into the roof. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. She ran. Down the stairwell, 3 steps at a time, hand on the rail to keep from tumbling. The alarm was still screaming. Her ears rang from adrenaline and the wind on the roof. She hit the 4th floor landing and kept going. 3rd floor, 2nd, ground. She burst into the ER hallway. Staff looked up, startled. Dr. Hale was at the nurses' station. Lane, what the hell? Where's Diane? Break room, why? Ava didn't answer. She pushed past him into the break room. Diane was pouring coffee, looking annoyed by the alarm. Did that guy say anything to you? Ava demanded. Diane blinked. What guy? Maintenance uniform, tall. Talked to you at the station 10 minutes ago. Oh, him. He asked where the new nurse was. I pointed him to the break room. Why? Ava's jaw tightened. He wasn't maintenance. Diane's expression shifted. What do you mean? Ava pulled out her encrypted phone, called Moss. He answered immediately. Lane, where are you? Still at the hospital. The messenger talked to Diane, asked for me by description. Someone fed him intel. Or he's been watching long enough to know who to ask. Ava's stomach turned. How long has he been watching? We're pulling security footage now. But Lane, you need to get out of there. If he made contact, Vorobev knows we're on to him. The whole op's compromised. What about Riley? We're working it. Lim's team at Bragg is trying to trace the video feed. But if Vorobev's smart, and he is, it's already dead. Ava closed her eyes, tried to think. Riley was alive. Or had been. The blood on her face was fresh. The fear in her eyes was real. Which meant Vorobev wanted Ava to see it. Wanted her rattled. It was working. Lane. Moss's voice cut through. I need you to go to the safe house. We'll regroup there, figure out next steps. I'm not hiding while Riley's out there. You're not dying for her either. This isn't a negotiation. Go to the safe house, now. The line went dead. Ava stood in the break room, phone in hand, Diane staring at her like she'd lost her mind. Lane, what is going on? Ava looked at her. I need you to do something for me. What? If anyone asks where I went, tell them I left early. Family emergency. Don't tell them which direction. Don't give them details. Diane's eyes widened. Are you in trouble? Just do it. Ava walked out before Diane could respond. She grabbed her jacket from her locker, checked the pager and wire, still active, and headed for the employee exit. The parking lot was crawling with people now. Security. A couple of cops. Moss's team had moved fast. Too fast. If Vorobev was watching, he'd see the response. He'd know it was a trap, which meant he'd adjust. Ava climbed into her car, sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel, making a decision she knew Moss would hate. She wasn't going to the safe house. She was going to find Riley herself. The encrypted phone buzzed again. Moss. She let it ring. Started the engine. Pulled out of the lot. She had maybe an hour before Moss sent someone after her. Maybe less. She drove north, out of Crescent Point, away from the safe house, toward the one place Moss wouldn't expect. Riley Kern's last known address was in a Homeland Security file Ava had memorized before agreeing to the op. Seattle, Capitol Hill neighborhood, an apartment above a Thai restaurant. It was a 14-hour drive. Ava made it in 12. She drove through the night, stopping only for gas and bad coffee. The highway stretched endlessly under a sky that never fully went dark. She kept the radio off, needed the silence to think. Vorobev had Riley. That much was clear. But why show Ava the feed? Why not just kill her and move on? Because he wanted Ava to know, wanted her to feel helpless, wanted her to make a mistake. She thought about the man on the roof, young, calm, professional. He delivered the message and vanished clean. That took training, resources, which meant Vorobev had a network. This wasn't just revenge, it was a campaign. By the time Ava reached Seattle, the sun was coming up. The city was waking. Morning traffic starting to build. She parked 2 blocks from Riley's building and walked the rest of the way, scanning rooftops and windows. Old habits. She checked reflections in store windows, watched for cars that lingered too long, looked for the micro-adjustments people made when they were trying not to be noticed. Nothing jumped out. But that didn't mean she was alone. The restaurant was closed. A sign in the window said it opened at 11. The door to the upstairs apartments was locked. Ava pulled a tension wrench and pick from her jacket. Old habits die harder than people, and had it open in 30 seconds. The stairwell smelled like garlic and grease. She climbed to the second floor, found Riley's door, knocked. No answer. She tried the handle, locked, picked it. The apartment was small, 1 bedroom, kitchenette, a couch that had seen better days. The walls were covered with maps, charts, schedules, corporate security contracts, client lists. Riley had been busy, but the place felt empty, not just unoccupied, abandoned. Ava moved through the rooms methodically, checked the closet. Half the clothes were gone, checked the bathroom. Toothbrush missing. Toiletries cleared out. Checked the bedroom. A duffel bag sat on the bed, half packed. Riley had been leaving. The question was why. Ava opened the duffel. Spare clothes. A pistol. Sig Sauer P226. 2 mags. Cash. Fake ID. Riley had been running. From what? Ava's phone buzzed. The encrypted one. Moss. She didn't answer. It rang again. She powered it off. Whatever Moss wanted to say, she didn't need to hear it. She was already breaking protocol, already operating solo. Adding his voice to the noise wouldn't help. She went back to searching the apartment, checked drawers, under the mattress, behind picture frames, looking for anything that might tell her where Riley had gone. Nothing. Then she noticed the laptop on the kitchen counter. Closed, powered off. She opened it, hit the power button. The screen came to life, password protected. Ava tried the obvious ones. Riley's birthday, her service number, her call sign. Nothing worked. She was about to give up when she noticed a post-it note stuck to the underside of the laptop. A series of numbers. She typed them in. The screen unlocked. Ava scanned the desktop. Files, documents, photos. She opened the most recent folder. Inside, surveillance photos. Dozens of them. Men in suits, meeting in parking lots, exchanging briefcases, loading crates into trucks. And in the center of every photo, Konstantin Vorobev. Riley had been tracking him. Ava opened another file, a document titled Vorobev Network Asset Map. It was a list, names, locations, companies, all of them tied to Vorobev's trafficking operation. Riley hadn't just been investigating him. She'd been building a case. Ava scrolled down, found a section labeled Crescent Point. Her pulse spiked. Vorobev had assets in Crescent Point, the city Ava had chosen because it was small, quiet, forgettable. The city Vorobev was already operating in. She kept reading. One name stood out. Dr. Raymond Collier. Ava's blood went cold. Collier. The hospital's chief of staff, the man who'd suspended her, the man who'd buried Hale's grievance, the man who'd known exactly where Ava would be. She grabbed her regular phone, called Hale. He answered on the 3rd ring. Lane? Where are you? Moss has been calling me every 10 minutes looking for you. Hale, listen. Don't ask questions, just listen. Okay? Collier. How long has he been at Crescent Point? A pause. I don't know. Maybe 5 years? Why? Before that, Where was he? I have no idea. Lane, what's going on? Did he come from another hospital? Private practice? Where? I think he came from some corporate gig. Medical consulting. Why does this matter? Ava stared at Riley's laptop, at Collier's name on the screen. Because he's working for Vorobev. Silence. That's insane, Hale said finally. Is it? Think about it. He shows up out of nowhere. No real hospital experience. Gets hired as chief of staff. Then suddenly the hospital starts running corporate wellness contracts, executive physicals, on-site care for businesses. Lane, that's not... It's a front. Vorobev's using the hospital to move people, clean money, maybe even smuggle weapons through medical supply chains. You're reaching. Am I? Collier knew I'd be at the hospital, knew my schedule. He could have fed that to Vorobev's people. Hale was quiet for a long moment. Then, if you're right, and I'm not saying you are, what do we do? You stay away from him. Don't let him know we're on to him. I'm going to find Riley. When I do, I'm going to burn Vorobev's whole network. Lane, wait. She hung up. Her regular phone buzzed immediately. A text. Unknown number. You're looking in the wrong place. Ava's heart stopped. Another text. Pier 19. Midnight. Come alone. She stared at the screen. It was a trap, obviously. But it was also the only lead she had. But, Ava spent the rest of the day preparing. She found a sporting goods store, bought a tactical vest, extra mags, a combat knife, a small medical kit. Then she found a gym, worked out, stretched, ran through drills she hadn't practiced in years. Her shoulder still ached from where the bullet had grazed her on the roof. The bandage the ER medic had applied was already soaked through. She needed stitches, antibiotics, rest. She'd get them later. By the time evening came, she was as ready as she'd ever be. She grabbed a cheap motel room, showered, changed into dark clothes, loaded her Glock and racked the slide, then sat on the bed and waited. At 11 p.m., she got in her car and drove to the waterfront. Pier 19 sat on the industrial edge of Seattle's waterfront. Old shipping warehouses, rusted cranes, the kind of place where things got moved quietly and no one asked questions. Ava arrived at 11:30 p.m., parked 3 blocks away, walked the perimeter on foot. The warehouse was dark, windows boarded, one entrance visible from the street, a loading dock around back. She checked her Glock, full mag, round-chambered, 2 spares in her jacket. Then she waited. At 11:50, a car pulled up, a sedan, dark, windows tinted. A woman got out, 40s, leather jacket, short dark hair. She looked around, nervous, then walked toward the warehouse entrance. Ava stayed in the shadows, watched. The woman knocked on a side door. 3 times. Pause. Twice more. A code. The door opened. A man stepped out, big, shaved head, Slavic features, Russian accent when he spoke. You're late. I'm careful. Riley sent you? Riley's gone. I need to know what she was working on. The man's expression darkened. Who are you? Someone who's trying to keep her alive. He studied her, then nodded toward the door. Inside. The woman hesitated, then went in. The door closed. Ava waited 10 seconds, then moved. She circled to the loading dock, found a broken window, low, accessible. She climbed through, careful not to make noise. The warehouse was cavernous, stacks of crates reaching toward the ceiling, pallets covered in tarps, shadows everywhere. The air smelled like rust and old wood. Voices echoed from the far end. Ava moved closer, stayed low, used the crates for cover. Her training kicked in. Angles, sight lines, exit routes. The woman was standing in a small clearing. The Russian man was with her, and 2 others, all armed. Riley was investigating Vorobev, the woman said. She thought he was using corporate security as cover, moving weapons through private contracts. I need to know what she found. She found too much, the Russian said. Started asking questions. Got people nervous. Vorobev noticed. Where is she now? If I knew, I'd already be dead. The woman tensed. Then why did you agree to meet? Because I want out, and you're going to help me. I don't... A gunshot cracked. The woman dropped. Ava's heart stopped. The Russian lowered his pistol, looked at the other two men. Clean this up. Vorobev wants the pier clear by morning. Ava's mind raced. This wasn't a meet, it was a cleanup. Riley had been investigating Vorobev's network. She'd gotten too close. And now anyone connected to her was being erased, including Ava. She started to back away, slowly, quietly. A floorboard creaked under her foot. The sound echoed through the warehouse. The Russian's head snapped toward the sound. Check it. One of the men started walking toward her position, flashlight sweeping the darkness. Ava moved fast, slipped behind a stack of crates, controlled her breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth, slow, steady. The man came closer, flashlight beam cutting through the shadows. She waited. He rounded the corner. Ava struck, palm to the throat, crushed his windpipe. He gasped. She grabbed his head and slammed it into the crate. Once, twice. He went down silent. She took his flashlight, his pistol. Gunfire erupted behind her, rounds punching through wood, splinters flying. Ava dove, rolled, came up behind another stack. The Russian was yelling in his native language. Commands, angry. Find her, Ava counted. 3 shooters, maybe 4. Bad odds. She pulled her Glock, fired twice over the crates. Suppressive. Bought herself time to move. More gunfire. They were spreading out, flanking. Smart. Ava kept moving, stayed low, used the chaos, the noise, the darkness. She came up on the second man's blind side. He was reloading, focused on the wrong angle. She put 2 rounds center mass. He went down, 2 left, maybe 3. A bullet grazed her left shoulder, the same one from before. Pain flared white hot. She bit back a yell. Blood soaked through her jacket. She fired back, missed. The Russian was moving, smart, using cover, not exposing himself. You can't run, Captain, he shouted. Vorobev knows you're here. He's been waiting for you. Ava didn't respond, just moved, found a ladder bolted to the wall, climbed to a catwalk overhead, metal grating, better vantage. She scanned below, saw movement near the entrance, lined up the shot, fired. The third man dropped. Just the Russian left. Silence fell. Ava waited, listened. Footsteps, moving away. Toward the exit, she tracked him, kept the pistol trained. The Russian reached the door, pushed it open, stepped outside, into a spotlight. Ava froze. 3 SUVs, black, tinted windows, positioned in a semicircle. Doors opened. Men poured out. Dozen, maybe more, all armed. And standing in the center, calm as death itself, Konstantin Vorobev. The Russian tried to run. Vorobev shot him without looking, without hesitation. The body crumpled. Then Vorobev turned toward the warehouse, toward Ava. Captain Lane, he called. His voice was smooth, cultured, educated. You've come a very long way. It would be rude not to say hello. Ava stayed in the shadows of the catwalk. Vorobev smiled. I have someone who wants to see you. 2 men dragged a figure forward. Riley. She was alive. Barely. Face bruised, blood crusted on her temple, hands zip-tied behind her back, duct tape over her mouth. But her eyes found Ava's through the darkness, and they said one thing, run. Vorobev pulled a knife from his belt, long, serrated. He held it to Riley's throat. You have 10 seconds to come out, Captain, or I open her neck and let her bleed on this dock like the pig she is. Ava's hand tightened on the Glock. No shot. Too many men, too much distance, too much light. 10. She could run. Back window. 3 blocks to her car. She'd be gone before they breached the warehouse. 9. But Riley would die. 8. Her team. Her responsibility. 7. Her fault. 6. The same choice she'd made in Kandahar. 5. The choice that got Paulo killed. 4. The choice she'd been running from for 2 years. 3. Ava stood, stepped into the light on the catwalk. Vorobev's smile widened. There she is. Every weapon turned toward her. Ava raised her hands, Glock still in her grip, finger off the trigger. Let her go, Ava said. No. Then what do you want? Vorobev tilted his head. The knife stayed pressed to Riley's throat. I want you to understand what you took from me. My brother was not a soldier. He was not a target. He was a scholar, a teacher. He taught literature at Moscow State University. Chekhov, Tolstoy, Pushkin. And you burned him alive because your intelligence was bad and your judgment was worse. It was war. It was murder. Vorobev's voice didn't rise, didn't need to. And now you will watch as I take everything from you. Your team, your hope, your future, your life. He pressed the knife harder. Blood welled. Riley's eyes went wide with pain. Ava's finger moved to the trigger. She wouldn't make the shot, but she'd go down fighting. Then headlights flooded the dock from both sides, vehicles screaming in, tactical vans, SUVs, brakes screeching. Federal agents, drop your weapons! Vorobev's men scattered. Some dove for cover. Others opened fire. Chaos erupted. Gunfire from all directions. Muzzle flashes lighting up the night. Vorobev grabbed Riley, dragged her backward, used her as a shield. Ava didn't hesitate. She jumped from the catwalk, landed hard. Pain shot through her ankle, ignored it, ran straight at Vorobev. He saw her coming, swung the knife. She ducked under it, grabbed his wrist, twisted hard. Bone snapped. The knife clattered to the concrete. Riley dropped to the ground. Vorobev threw a punch with his good hand, caught Ava in the ribs. She gasped, swung back, connected with his jaw. He stumbled. They grappled. Fists, elbows, knees. Ava felt her shoulder wound tearing open. Blood soaking her jacket, running down her arm. Didn't matter. She drove her knee into his gut. He doubled over. She grabbed his head, slammed it into the concrete. Once, twice, 3 times. He went limp. Ava collapsed next to him, breathing hard, vision blurring, blood everywhere. Hands grabbed her, pulled her up. Moss and Ellison. "You're completely insane," Moss said. But there was something like respect in his voice. Ava didn't answer, just looked at Riley. Medics were already swarming, cutting the zip ties, removing the tape, loading her onto a stretcher. She was alive. Ellison knelt next to Vorobev, checked his pulse. "He's out. Get him in cuffs. Medical team, now." Agents swarmed. The gunfire had stopped. Vorobev's men were being rounded up, hands behind heads, on their knees. Ava sat on the dock, shoulder screaming, ankle throbbing, vision swimming. A medic approached, young, nervous. "Ma'am, you're losing a lot of blood." "I'm fine." "You're really not. I've had worse." "That doesn't make this better." Ava let him work. Bandage, pressure, words she didn't process. Her ears were still ringing from the gunfire. Moss sat next to her. "You should have waited for backup. There wasn't time. There's always time if you make it." Ava looked at him. Paulo didn't have time. Riley almost didn't. "How much time should I have given them while you planned?" Moss was quiet for a moment. Then, "Fair point." Ellison walked over, blood on her suit. "Vorobev's talking already. Wants a deal. Says he has intel on a bigger network. Russian mob, arms trafficking, money laundering. Goes all the way to Moscow, maybe higher." Ava closed her eyes. "Of course it does." "You did good, Lane, really good." "I got lucky." "Luck's a skill in this line of work." Ava didn't respond. The medic finished the bandage. "You need a hospital, real stitches, probably a CT scan for that head." "I didn't hit my head." "You jumped off a catwalk." "I landed fine." "Your ankle's swelling." "It'll heal." The medic looked at Moss. "Can you talk sense into her?" Moss shook his head. "Not even a little." Ava stood, wobbled. Moss caught her arm. "Easy." "I'm fine." She wasn't, but she walked anyway. Toward the ambulance, toward Riley. Riley was conscious now, eyes open. Tape removed, an oxygen mask over her face. She saw Ava, tried to smile, failed, managed a weak thumbs up instead. "You're an idiot," Riley whispered. "Yeah. Thanks." Ava nodded. "We're even now." Riley closed her eyes. "Not even close." The medics loaded her in. Doors closed. Sirens wailed. Ava watched the ambulance disappear into the city, then turned. Vorobev was being dragged to a van, cuffed, bleeding from the head wound, but conscious. He looked at her as they passed, smiled through the blood. "This isn't over, Captain." Ava stepped closer. Moss tried to stop her. She shook him off, leaned in, close enough to smell the copper on Vorobev's breath. "Yeah, it is. You think you won, but you didn't. There are others, always others. You killed one monster, but the Hydra has many heads." Ava's voice dropped, cold, final. "Let them come." She walked away. Moss followed. "Lane, we need to debrief." "Later." "Now." Ava stopped, turned. "Moss, I just bled on a dock to save someone you said wasn't worth the risk. I broke your rules, ignored your orders, operated solo, and I'd do it again tomorrow. So if you want to debrief, fine, but it's going to be a very short conversation." Moss stared at her, then nodded. "Fair enough, but you're going to the hospital first. That's not a request." "Fine." Ellison approached, holding a tablet. "Lane, before you go, you need to see this." Ava took the tablet. On the screen, a video feed. Security camera footage, time-stamped 3 hours ago. The location, Crescent Point General, employee parking lot. The subject, Dr. Raymond Collier, getting into a black sedan. The driver, one of Vorobev's men. Ava's jaw tightened. "He's dirty." "Very," Ellison said. "We've been monitoring him since your call to Dr. Hale. He made 4 calls in the last 2 hours, all to burner phones, all linked to Vorobev's network." "Are you arresting him?" "Already done. Federal agents hit his office 20 minutes ago. He's in custody." Ava handed back the tablet. "Good. There's more. Collier wasn't just moving money. He was moving people, using the hospital's wellness contracts to smuggle operatives into corporate facilities, engineers, accountants, IT specialists, all Russian intelligence assets." Ava felt sick. "How long?" "At least 3 years, maybe longer. And no one noticed. They were good, and Collier gave them cover." Ellison paused. "The hospital's going to have a lot of questions, and you're going to be in the middle of it. I just want to work." "You will, but first you're going to be a hero, whether you like it or not." Ava didn't respond. Moss's phone rang. He answered, listened. His expression changed. "When?" A pause. "Are you sure?" Another pause. "Understood." He hung up, looked at Ava. "What?" she asked. "That was Bragg. Jason Lim. He's gone." Ava's blood went cold. "Gone how?" "Vanished. 2 hours ago. His protective detail found the safe house empty. No signs of struggle, no blood. Just gone." "Vorobev's people got to him." "Maybe. Or he ran. Jason wouldn't run. Everyone runs if they're scared enough." Ava's mind raced. Paulo dead. Riley barely alive. Jason missing. Her team was being erased. "We need to find him," Ava said. "We will, but you're going to the hospital first." "Ma Saham, that's an order, Lane. You're no good to anyone if you bleed out." Ava wanted to argue, but her vision was swimming. Her legs felt weak. She nodded. Moss gestured to a waiting SUV. "Get in. I'll ride with you." They climbed in. The vehicle pulled away from the dock, sirens and lights fading behind them. Ava leaned back against the seat, closed her eyes. Her phone buzzed. Her regular phone, not the encrypted one. She pulled it out. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then did. A voice. Calm, female, unfamiliar, slight accent, Russian. "Captain Lane, my name is Director Sava Kozlov. I believe we have much to discuss." Ava's blood went cold. Kozlov. Russian Foreign Intelligence Service. SVR. The real power behind Vorobev. "How did you get this number?" "The same way I got your location, your history, your team's names. I've been watching you for a very long time, Captain." "What do you want?" "To offer you a choice." Konstantin Vorobev was a loose end, a man driven by emotion, sloppy, predictable. You did me a favor by removing him. Ava's jaw clenched. "So this was your play all along. This was inevitable. But now, you have an opportunity. Work for me. Use your skills for something that matters, something bigger than revenge, bigger than patriotism. I'm done working for people like you. People like me keep the world spinning, Captain. We operate in the spaces between countries, between laws. We do what must be done. You know this. You've done it yourself. I know you get people killed. A pause. Then, softly, so do you. The words hit like a bullet. Your brother, Kozlov continued. Paolo, Riley, Jason. How many more will die because you chose the wrong side? I chose to save lives. And yet they keep dying. Perhaps you're choosing wrong. Ava's hand tightened on the phone. Go to hell. I'll be waiting. But know this, Captain Lane, the offer stands. When you realize that your government will never appreciate what you've sacrificed, when you understand that heroism is just another word for expendable, call me. Never. We shall see. Oh, and Captain, tell your friend Corporal Lim I said hello. The line went dead. Ava stared at the phone. Moss was watching her. Who was that? Kozlov, SVR. Moss swore. What did she want? To recruit me. And she has Jason. Moss pulled out his phone, started dialing, barking orders. Ava leaned back, closed her eyes. The fight wasn't over. It had just changed shape. Vorobev was down, but Kozlov was still out there. And she had Jason. Ava's phone buzzed again. A text. Unknown number. If you want him back, come alone. I'll send coordinates. You have 48 hours. Then a photo. Jason. Alive, tied to a chair, bruised but conscious, holding today's newspaper, proof of life. Ava showed Moss. He stared at the screen. It's a trap. Obviously. You can't go. I have to. Lane, if you go, you die. That's the play. She wants you, not Jason. He's just bait. Then I'll make sure I'm not the one who gets caught. The SUV pulled up to the hospital. Emergency entrance, medics waiting. Ava climbed out. Her legs wobbled. Moss caught her. Let them patch you up, then we plan. Together. Ava nodded, but she was already planning. Alone. Because some fights you couldn't ask others to join. Some debts you had to pay yourself. And Jason was hers. The ER at Crescent Point General looked different now. Ava sat on an exam table while a resident stitched her shoulder. 32 sutures. The resident, young, nervous, kept glancing at her like she might explode, worked in silence. Moss stood near the door, phone pressed to his ear, coordinating with Bragg and the FBI field office in Seattle. Dr. Hale walked in. Stopped when he saw her. Lane. Hale. He crossed his arms, studied the damage. You look like you went through a wood chipper. Close enough. Diane told me you left yesterday for a family emergency. That was a lie, wasn't it? Yeah. Hale nodded slowly. Collier's been arrested. Federal agents came through 3 hours ago, cleared out his office, seized his files. The board's in full panic mode. Good. Good? Hale's voice rose slightly. Lane, the hospital's been compromised for 3 years. We've been treating Russian intelligence assets. Running physicals on operatives. Collier used us as a pipeline. I know. And you didn't think to warn anyone? Ava met his eyes. I found out yesterday, and I've been a little busy. The resident finished the last stitch, tied it off, applied a bandage. You're done. Try not to tear these out. Thanks. The resident left quickly. Hale sat down on the stool the resident had vacated. Moss briefed me. Some of it, anyway. You were military, special operations, and Vorobev was hunting your old team. That's the short version. Is there a long version? Ava pulled her shirt back on carefully. Not one I'm ready to tell. Hale was quiet for a moment. Then, for what it's worth, you saved lives here. The chemical fire. Ethan Voss. That kid choking. You were good at this. Really good. Was? The board's going to have questions. About you. About what you knew. About why you were really here. Let them ask. Lane, they're going to fire you. You know that, right? Ava stood, tested her weight on her injured ankle. It held, barely. I've been fired before. She walked out. Moss followed her into the hallway. Where do you think you're going? To find Jason. Not yet. We need to talk. We can talk while I'm gearing up. Moss grabbed her arm. Lane, stop. You're running on adrenaline and spike. You need rest. Medical clearance. A tactical plan. I have a plan. Which is? Find Kozlov. Get Jason back. End this.
No, that's not a plan. That's suicide with extra steps. Ava pulled her arm free. Then stop me. Moss stared at her, then sighed. You're not going alone. Yes, I am. No, you're not, because if you die, Jason dies. And I'm not losing 2 assets because you have a hero complex. I'm not an asset. You are now, whether you like it or not. Ava's phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. Coordinates. Latitude and longitude. Below them, 24 hours. Come alone, or he dies. Ava showed Moss.
He pulled out his own phone, ran the coordinates. Middle of nowhere, Cascade Mountains, abandoned logging camp, 3 hours north. Then I leave in 2. Lane, I'm going, Moss. You can help her get out of the way. Moss looked at her for a long moment, then made a decision. Fine, but we do this smart. You go in wired, tracker on you, backup team staged 2 miles out. You get Jason, you signal, we extract. She'll sweep me for wires. Then we put the tracker somewhere she won't find it. Where? Moss gestured to her fresh stitches. Under your skin. 20 minutes later, Ava was back on the exam table. A different doctor this time. Older, ex-military himself based on the tattoos. He injected a local anesthetic into her forearm, waited for it to take effect, then made a small incision and inserted a tracking chip the size of a grain of rice. This is insane, the doctor said while he worked. Yeah. You know that, right? Yeah. And you're doing it anyway? Yeah. He stitched the incision closed, applied a waterproof bandage.
It's subcutaneous. She won't find it unless she cuts you open. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. The doctor stepped back. Good luck. You're going to need it. Ava rolled down her sleeve. Thanks. Moss was waiting outside with a duffel bag. Gear, Glock 19 with suppressor, 4 mags, combat knife, medical kit, flares, and this. He handed her a small earpiece. One-way comms. You won't be able to talk to us, but you'll hear us. We'll be listening the whole time. She'll find it. Then ditch it before you go in, but wear it as long as you can. Ava took the earpiece, slipped it in, tested it. Moss's voice came through. Hear me? She nodded. Good. Team's moving into position now. 2 hours to get staged. You leave in 90 minutes. Where's Ellison? Coordinating with DOJ Collier's singing, gave up half of Vorobev's network already. Names, locations, bank accounts. It's a gold mine. And Vorobev? Federal holding, maximum security. He's not going anywhere. Ava nodded. What about Riley? Stable. Surgery went well. She's awake, asking about you, actually. I need to see her. Lane, you don't have time. I need to see her. Moss sighed. Room 412. You've got 10 minutes. Up. Riley was awake when Ava walked in, propped up in bed, face bruised, left arm in a sling, but alive. She looked up when Ava entered, tried to smile, winced instead. You look worse than I do, Riley said. Doubt it. Come closer. Let me see. Ava walked to the bedside. Riley studied her. 32 stitches in the shoulder, sprained ankle, bruised ribs. You're a mess. How'd you know about the stitches? Hale told me. He's been checking on me every hour. I think he feels guilty. He should. We all should. Riley's expression softened. This wasn't your fault, Ava. Wasn't it? I made the call in Kandahar. Vorobev came after us because of me. Vorobev came after us because he's a monster. You made a hard call in a bad situation. That's not the same thing. Ava sat down in the chair next to the bed. Paolo's dead. I know. Jason's missing. Kozlov has him. Riley's jaw tightened. Then go get him. I am. But I needed to see you first. Why? Ava didn't answer right away. Then, because if this goes wrong, I wanted you to know I'm sorry. For Kandahar. For all of it. Riley reached out with her good hand, grabbed Ava's. If it goes wrong, I'm going to be pissed, so don't let it go wrong. Ava almost smiled. I'll try. Ava? Riley's grip tightened. Bring him home. I will. She stood, walked to the door. Lane. Ava turned. Don't die. I'm running out of people I trust. Ava nodded, then left.
The drive north was quiet. Ava took a Bureau SUV, dark, unremarkable. Moss rode shotgun. 2 tactical agents in the back. They didn't talk much. The city gave way to suburbs. Suburbs gave way to forest. The road narrowed, climbed. By the time they reached the staging point, the sun was setting. Moss checked his tablet. Logging camp is 2 miles northeast, single access road. We'll set up here. You go in on foot. Ava geared up, checked her Glock, loaded mags, strapped the knife to her thigh. One of the tactical agents handed her a radio. In case the earpiece fails, she clipped it to her belt. Moss walked her to the edge of the clearing. Lane, if this goes sideways, you abort. You hear me? You get out and we come in. If I abort, Jason dies. If you die, Jason dies anyway, and we lose you. Don't be a hero. Ava looked at him. Little late for that. She turned and walked into the trees. The forest was dense, old growth, thick canopy blocking what little light remained. Ava moved carefully, quietly. Her ankle throbbed with every step, but she pushed through it. 40 minutes later, she saw the camp, a cluster of buildings, rotted wood, collapsed roofs, rusted equipment half buried in underbrush, decades of abandonment, and in the center, a single structure still intact. A main lodge, windows dark, smoke rising from a chimney. Someone was inside. Ava circled the perimeter, counted exits, checked sightlines, looked for sentries. Nothing. Too quiet. She keyed the radio, whispered, I'm at the camp. No visible guards. Looks empty. Moss's voice crackled in her ear. Copy. We're reading your tracker. You're right on top of it. Proceed with caution. Ava approached the lodge, tested the front door, unlocked. She pushed it open slowly. The interior was lit by a single oil lamp. Old furniture, a table, chairs, a fireplace with a low fire burning, and sitting at the table, Jason Lim, alive, untied. A cup of coffee in front of him. Ava's pulse spiked. Jason? He looked up. Relief flooded his face. Ava, thank God. She moved toward him, gun still raised, scanning corners. Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. They didn't... Where is she? Who? Kozlov. Jason frowned. I don't know who that is. Ava, what's going on? Ava stopped. Something was wrong. How did you get here? I don't know. I was at the safe house. Someone knocked me out. When I woke up, I was here. Alone. No guards? No one, just me. Ava's instinct screamed. Stand up. What? Stand up. Now. Jason stood slowly, hands raised. Ava, it's me. It's Jason. She moved closer, checked him for weapons, for wires, for anything that didn't belong. Nothing. Then she saw it. A small red dot on his chest. Laser sight. Get down! She tackled him as the window exploded. Gunfire erupted, rounds tearing through the lodge. Wood splintering, glass shattering. Ava dragged Jason behind the table, returned fire blindly, bought them seconds. Moss, we're under fire! Multiple shooters! Static. She tried again. Moss, do you copy? Nothing. The radio was dead. More gunfire. Closer now. They were moving in. Ava grabbed Jason. Back door, now! They ran, out the back, into the trees, bullets chasing them. Ava fired behind her, suppressive, barely aimed. They hit the tree line and kept running. 50 yards in, Jason stumbled. Went down hard. Ava stopped, grabbed him. Get up! I can't, my leg. She looked down, blood soaking through his pants. He'd been hit. How bad? Bad. She ripped his pant leg open, through and through. Femoral artery missed. Lucky. She pulled the medical kit, applied pressure, wrapped it fast. Can you walk? I think so. Gunfire behind them, getting closer. Ava helped him up. They moved deeper into the forest. Her earpiece crackled suddenly. Moss's voice, distorted. Lane, ambush, pulling back. Then static again.
Ava swore. The backup team was compromised. They were alone. She keyed the radio. Moss, if you can hear me, we're moving west. We need extract. No response. They kept moving. Jason leaning on her, both of them bleeding, the forest getting darker. Then she heard it. A voice. Calm. Female. Amplified. Captain Lane, stop running. You're only making this harder. Kozlov. Ava pulled Jason behind a fallen log, scanned the darkness. I have no interest in killing Corporal Lim. He's simply leverage. But you, Captain, you are the prize. Ava stayed silent. I know you're listening. I know you're deciding whether to fight or run. Let me make it easier. Your backup is gone. Your communications are jammed. Your extraction is not coming. You are alone, Jason whispered. Ava, what do we do? Ava checked her Glock. 1 mag left, maybe 15 rounds. Not enough. Kozlov's voice continued. I'm offering you a choice. Surrender now, and I let Corporal Lim go. Refuse, and I kill him in front of you. Then I kill you anyway. Don't trust her, Jason hissed. Ava knew he was right, but she also knew they were out of options. She stood, hands raised, gun still in her grip. I'm here. Lights flooded the forest. 6 armed men stepped out of the shadows. Tactical gear, night vision, professional. And behind them, Sava Kozlov. She was younger than Ava expected. Late 40s, sharp suit, cold eyes. She looked like she belonged in a boardroom, not a forest. Captain Lane. Finally. Ava kept her hands raised. Let him go. Not yet. First, drop the weapon. Ava hesitated. Kozlov gestured. One of the men aimed at Jason. Ava dropped the Glock. Good. Now step away from him. Ava moved forward, slowly. Kozlov smiled. You're wondering why I went through all this trouble. Why not just kill you in Seattle? The thought crossed my mind. Because I don't want you dead, Captain. I want you working for me. Not going to happen. We'll see. Kozlov gestured. 2 men grabbed Ava, zip-tied her hands behind her back. Another man dragged Jason forward, kept a gun to his head. Kozlov walked closer to Ava. You have skills, training, experience, and most importantly, you have nothing left to lose. Your team is dead or broken. Your country discarded you. Your hospital fired you. What do you have left? Ava met her eyes. Enough, Kozlov laughed. Soft, genuine. I admire your resilience, but let me show you something. She pulled out a tablet, turned it toward Ava. On the screen, Dr. Hale. In his office at Crescent Point General, unaware he was being watched. 1 call, Kozlov said, and he dies, along with every patient in that ER. 1 call. Ava's jaw tightened. Or you work for me, and I leave your precious hospital alone. You're bluffing, Kozlov tapped the screen. The view changed. Now it showed the ER, packed with patients, Diane at the nurse's station, residents rushing between rooms. Am I? Ava's mind raced. Kozlov had people inside the hospital, right now, armed, waiting. What do you want? I want you to understand that heroism is a cage, and I'm offering you freedom. By enslaving me to you? By giving you purpose, real purpose. Not saving ungrateful civilians, not following orders from politicians who see you as expendable, but shaping the world. From the shadows. Ava said nothing. Kozlov stepped closer. You have 1 hour to decide. Work for me or everyone you care about dies, starting with him. She gestured to Jason. Ava looked at him, bruised, bleeding, terrified. Her responsibility, her fault. I need proof you'll let them go. Kozlov smiled. Of course. She gestured to one of her men. Release the corporal. The man hesitated. Director, do it. The man cut Jason's zip ties, stepped back. Jason stood slowly. Ava, don't... Run, Ava said. I'm not leaving you. Run, now. Jason stared at her, then turned and ran into the forest. No one stopped him. Kozlov watched him go. Touching, but pointless. He'll die in these woods. Or my men will find him. Either way. You said you'd let him go. I am.
Whether he survives is up to him. Ava's fists clenched behind her back. The zip ties bit into her wrists. Kozlov checked her watch. 59 minutes, Captain? Choose wisely. She walked away. Her men followed, leaving Ava zip-tied, alone, in the dark. Ava counted to 60, then pulled the combat knife from her thigh sheath. She'd slipped it there before dropping the Glock. The men hadn't checked. Amateurs. She cut the zip ties, stood, retrieved her Glock, keyed the dead radio one more time. Static. Then faint. Lane, hear me. 2 minutes out. Moss. The cavalry was coming. Ava smiled, then ran after Jason. She found him a quarter-mile out, collapsed against a tree, leg bleeding worse now. Ava, save it. Can you walk? Barely. She pulled him up. Then barely is going to have to be enough. Gunfire erupted behind them. Not at them. Somewhere else. Moss's team had engaged. Come on! They moved as fast as Jason's leg allowed, Ava half dragging him, both of them bleeding, the forest alive with gunfire and shouts. Then she heard rotors, helicopter, incoming. She looked up, saw lights, heard Moss's voice in her ear. Lane, if you can hear me, pop a flare. Ava pulled one from her kit, lit it, threw it into a clearing. Red light flooded the forest. The helicopter descended. Side door open. Moss leaning out. Come on! Ava dragged Jason toward it. 50 feet, 30, 20. Gunfire chased them. Moss returned fire, covering. They reached the helicopter. Hands grabbed them, pulled them inside. The bird lifted off. Ava collapsed on the floor, Jason next to her, both of them gasping. Moss knelt beside her. You're insane. Yeah. You got him. Yeah. Good work. Ava closed her eyes, let the adrenaline fade, let the pain in. But they'd made it. Jason was safe. For now. By the time they landed at a federal facility outside Seattle, the sun was coming up. Medics took Jason immediately. Ava refused treatment until she'd debriefed. Ellison was waiting in the conference room, tablet in hand, coffee untouched. Kozlov got away, Ellison said without preamble. I know. But we got our men, all 6, they're talking. Good. And we found something else. Ellison turned the tablet toward Ava. On screen, financial records, bank transfers, offshore accounts. Collier wasn't just moving people. He was laundering money, millions, for Kozlov's network. Ava leaned forward. How much? 200 million, maybe more. We're still tracing it. Where'd it go? Everywhere. Shell companies, real estate, crypto. But here's the interesting part. Ellison swiped to another screen. A list of names. These are the people Collier paid off. Hospital board members, city officials, even a few federal agents. Ava's blood went cold. How deep does this go? Deeper than we thought. Kozlov's been building this network for a decade. Crescent Point was just one node. And Vorobev? A pawn. Kozlov used his vendetta against you to clean up loose ends. If he'd succeeded in killing your team, she'd have eliminated witnesses. If he failed, like he did, she'd use it to recruit you. Win-win. Ava sat back. She played everyone. Almost everyone. Ellison closed the tablet. You stopped her. I didn't stop her. She's still out there. But her network's collapsing. Arrests happening worldwide. Banks freezing assets. She's finished. Ava shook her head. People like Kozlov don't finish. They adapt. Ellison was quiet for a moment. Then, there's something else. Dr. Hale called. The hospital board wants to meet with you. To fire me officially? Actually, no. To offer you your job back. Ava blinked. What? With Collier gone, they need someone they can trust. Someone who proved they'd bleed for that hospital. Hale went to bat for you. Hard. He told them if they didn't reinstate you, he'd walk. He'd quit? He would. And given that he's the only reason the ER functions, the board caved. Ava didn't know what to say. You saved lives, Lane. A lot of them. They want you back. Ava stood, walked to the window, looked out at the sunrise. For 2 years, she'd been running, hiding, pretending, and now she had a choice. Go back to the hospital. Go back to saving lives. Or keep chasing Kozlov. Keep fighting shadows. She thought about Paulo, about Riley, about Jason, about the lives she'd failed to save, and the ones she had. Lane? Ava turned. Tell them I'll think about it. Fair enough. Ellison left. Ava stood alone in the conference room. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then did. Kozlov's voice, calm as ever. Congratulations, Captain. You won this round. Where are you?
Somewhere you'll never find me. But don't worry, we'll meet again. I'm done playing games. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're just getting started. You've tasted it again. The fight, the purpose, the clarity. You can't walk away from that. Watch me. We'll see. Oh, and Captain, check your email. I left you a gift. The line went dead. Ava opened her email. One new message, no sender. Inside, a video file. She hesitated, then played it. The video showed a warehouse, dark, industrial, and tied to chairs in the center, 3 people. Dr. Hale, Diane, and a nurse Ava recognized from the ER. All of them gagged, all of them terrified. A figure stepped into frame, masked, holding a knife. Text appeared at the bottom of the screen. You have 24 hours. Come alone, or they die like the others. Below it, coordinates. Ava's hands shook. This wasn't over. It was never going to be over, because Kozlov didn't just want to recruit her. She wanted to break her, and she'd just found the leverage to do it. Ava played the video 3 more times. Each time she saw the same thing. Hale's eyes locked on the camera, trying to communicate something. Diane's hands trembling. The young nurse, Emma, her name was Emma, crying silently behind the gag. And the masked figure, patient and still, knife glinting under harsh warehouse lights. She forwarded the video to Moss, called him immediately. He answered on the first ring. I just saw it. Lane, you can't. I'm going. It's a trap. I know. Then why? Because if I don't, 3 people die. People who have nothing to do with this. People who were just doing their jobs. Moss was silent for a moment. Then, where are the coordinates? Industrial District, South Crescent Point, old textile factory. That's 15 minutes from the hospital. She's been operating in your backyard this whole time. Yeah. Lane, listen to me. We do this right. Full tactical response. Snipers, breach team. We go in hard and fast. She'll kill them the second she hears helicopters. Maybe. Or maybe she's bluffing. You willing to bet their lives on that? Moss swore. What do you want to do? I go in alone. You stage nearby. I get them out. I signal. You move in. And if you can't get them out, then you move in anyway and hope for the best. Another pause. You're going to get yourself killed. Probably. But at least I'll go down trying. She hung up before he could argue further. The coordinates led to a sprawling complex on the edge of the city. Rusted fences, broken windows, graffiti covering every surface. The kind of place where the city had given up pretending it still cared. Ava arrived 2 hours before the deadline, parked 6 blocks away, approached on foot. She'd refused another tracker, refused backup close enough to matter. This time, Kozlov would be looking for tricks. So Ava came with nothing but her Glock, a knife, and one advantage Kozlov didn't know about. Riley. Against medical advice, Riley had checked herself out of the hospital 3 hours ago. Now she was positioned on a rooftop 2 blocks east with a hunting rifle she'd borrowed from a friend who didn't ask questions. I've got eyes on the main entrance, Riley's voice came through the earpiece. No movement yet. Copy. Ava, you sure about this? No. Good. Means you're thinking straight. Ava circled the factory, counted exits, looked for sentries. The place felt abandoned, but she knew better. She found a side entrance, door hanging off its hinges, slipped inside. The interior was a maze of catwalks, broken machinery, and shadows. Moonlight filtered through holes in the roof, casting everything in pale silver. Ava moved carefully, listening, watching. Then she heard it. Crying. She followed the sound to the main floor, a large open space, and in the center, under a hanging work light, Hale, Diane, and Emma, still tied to chairs. No sign of the masked figure. Ava keyed her mic. "Riley, I've got visual on the hostages. No guards visible." "It's too easy." "I know." Ava stepped into the open, crossed the floor. Hale saw her first. His eyes went wide. He shook his head violently, trying to warn her. Ava ignored him, kept moving. She was 10 feet away when she heard the voice. "Right on time, Captain." The lights blazed on, blinding. Ava spun, raised her Glock. Kozlov stood on a catwalk above. No mask now, just her, calm, smiling. "Drop the weapon." Ava didn't move. Kozlov gestured. 6 armed men stepped out of the shadows, surrounding Ava, all with rifles trained on her. "Drop it, or I kill them now." Ava lowered the Glock, set it on the ground. "Good. Now kick it away." She did. Kozlov descended the stairs slowly, deliberately, like she had all the time in the world. "You're predictable, Captain. That's your weakness. You always choose the heroic path, even when it's the stupid one." "Let them go. You've got me." "I do, but I'm not done with them yet." Kozlov walked to Hale, pulled the gag down. "Dr. Hale, tell Captain Lane what you told me." Hale's voice was hoarse. "She knows about the board, about the money, about everyone Collier paid off." Kozlov smiled. "And do you know what's interesting, Doctor? Your name isn't on that list. You're one of the few honest people in that hospital, which makes you dangerous." "I'm just a doctor." "No, you're a witness. And witnesses are liabilities." She pulled a pistol, pressed it to Hale's temple. Ava stepped forward. "Wait. Why? Give me one reason I shouldn't kill him right now." "Because you need me. That's why you set this up. You want me working for you. You kill him, you lose your leverage." Kozlov tilted her head. "Smart, but incorrect. I don't need you anymore, Captain. I've already won. My network is damaged, yes, but not destroyed. I'll rebuild. I always do. What I need now is to send a message." "What message?" "That crossing me has consequences." She cocked the pistol. Ava's mind raced. She was unarmed. 6 rifles trained on her. Kozlov had all the power. Then Riley's voice came through the earpiece. Barely a whisper. "Ava, window above Kozlov, 45 degrees right. Say when." Ava's eyes flicked up, saw the window, saw the angle. She looked back at Kozlov. "You're right, I am predictable. I always choose the heroic path. And sometimes that's exactly what you need." She dove. The window shattered. Riley's bullet took Kozlov in the shoulder, spun her. The pistol flew from her hand. Ava hit the ground rolling, grabbed her Glock, came up firing. 2 of Kozlov's men went down. 3 more scattered. Gunfire erupted from all sides. Ava ran to the hostages, cut Hale's zip ties, threw him the knife. "Free them. Get out." "Lane, go!" She turned, fired at a man on the catwalk. Missed. He returned fire, rounds sparking off machinery near her head. Riley's rifle cracked again. The man dropped. "2 left," Riley said in her ear. "And Kozlov's moving." Ava saw her. Kozlov, bleeding from the shoulder, running toward a back exit. Ava chased. Behind her, Hale was cutting Diane and Emma free. They were moving, slow, terrified, but moving. Kozlov burst through the exit. Ava followed. Alley. Narrow. Dark. Kozlov was fast despite the wound. She vaulted a fence, disappeared around a corner. Ava jumped the fence. Her ankle screamed. She ignored it, rounded the corner. Kozlov was waiting. She swung a pipe, caught Ava across the ribs. Ava went down, gasping. Kozlov stood over her. Pipe raised for another strike. "You should have taken my offer." Ava grabbed a handful of gravel, threw it in Kozlov's face. Kozlov stumbled back. Ava surged up, tackled her. They hit the ground hard, both fighting for advantage. Kozlov was trained, fast, but Ava was desperate. Ava landed a punch, then another. Kozlov's nose broke. Blood sprayed. Kozlov bucked, threw Ava off, rolled to her feet. Both women circled, breathing hard, bleeding. "This doesn't end here," Kozlov said. "Even if you kill me, there are others. The network is bigger than you know."
Then I'll burn it all down. Kozlov smiled through the blood. You can't, because you're just one person, and we are everywhere. Sirens wailed in the distance. Moss's team, coming in. Kozlov heard them too. Her expression shifted. Calculation. She turned and ran. Ava chased. 10 steps. 20. Her ankle gave out. She went down hard. By the time she looked up, Kozlov was gone. Disappeared into the maze of alleys and shadows. Ava slammed her fist into the pavement. Damn it! Riley's voice crackled in her ear. Ava, you okay? She got away. But the hostages didn't. You got them out. That's what matters. Ava stood slowly, limped back toward the factory. Tactical teams were already swarming, Moss among them. He saw her, ran over. Lane, you're bleeding. I'm fine. You're not. Where are they? Hale and the others? Ambulance. They're shaken but alive. You did good. Ava shook her head. Kozlov escaped. We'll find her. Will you? She's been operating for a decade. She has resources, connections. She'll disappear and rebuild. Moss grabbed her shoulders, made her look at him. Lane, you saved 3 lives tonight. You dismantled her network. You stopped Vorobev. You did more in 1 week than most agents do in a career. Take the win. Ava wanted to argue, but she was too tired. She nodded. Moss steered her toward a waiting ambulance. Come on, let's get you patched up. Crescent Point. General looked different in the dawn light. Ava stood in the parking lot, freshly bandaged, watching the shift change. Nurses coming in, nurses going out, the cycle continuing. Dr. Hale walked out, saw her, crossed over. Lane! Hale! They stood in silence for a moment. Then Hale said, The board met this morning. Emergency session. Let me guess. They're firing me officially this time. Actually, no. They're promoting you. Ava blinked. What? Head of ER nursing. Collier's gone. The interim chief wants someone he can trust running the floor. I told him you were the only option. Hale, I'm not. You're exactly what this hospital needs. Someone who doesn't play politics. Someone who saves lives because it's the right thing to do, not because it looks good on a resume. Ava looked at the hospital, at the people walking in and out. What about the investigation? The FBI? This place is going to be under a microscope. Let them look. We have nothing to hide anymore. Collier's gone. His network's exposed. We clean house. We rebuild. And we do it right this time. You make it sound simple. It's not, but it's necessary. Hale paused. Lane, you've been fighting for 2 years, running from something that wasn't your fault. Maybe it's time to stop running. Stay. Build something worth staying for. Ava didn't answer right away. She thought about Paolo, about the choice she'd made in Kandahar, about the weight she'd been carrying, and she realized something. She'd never forgive herself for that night. But maybe she didn't have to. Maybe she just had to do better. Every day, every shift, every patient. I'll think about it, she said finally. Hale smiled. That's more than I expected. Come inside when you're ready. We've got a full ER and we're down 2 nurses. He walked back inside. Ava stood alone in the parking lot. Her phone buzzed. A text from Riley. Heard you got a promotion. Don't screw it up. Another from Jason. Thanks for not letting me die. Buy you a beer when I'm walking again? And one from a number she didn't recognize. You won this time, Captain. Enjoy it. It won't last. K. Ava deleted Kozlov's message without responding. Then she walked inside. Bam. 3 months later. The ER was packed. Friday night. Full moon. Every bed occupied. Ava moved between patients, checking vitals, adjusting IVs, coordinating care. A young resident, fresh out of med school, nervous, approached her. Nurse Lane, I've got a patient in 3 with acute chest pain. EKG shows ST elevation. I think it's an MI. Ava glanced at the chart. You're right. Alert cardiology. Get him on aspirin and heparin. Move him to the front of the cath lab queue. Already done. Good. What else? Patient in 7. Possible appendicitis. CT ordered. Results? Not back yet. Chase them. If it's positive, we need surgery on standby. The resident nodded and hurried off.
Dr. Hale appeared at her elbow. You're good at this. At what? Running the floor, making decisions, not second-guessing yourself. Ava adjusted a patient's oxygen flow. I still second-guess. I just don't let it slow me down. That's called experience. Or stubbornness, Hale smiled. Sometimes they're the same thing. An alarm blared, trauma incoming. Ava moved to the bay. The ambulance pulled up. Paramedics jumped out. Female, mid-20s, MVA, unconscious, GCS 7. Ava took charge. Trauma 1. Get me a line, type and cross, portable x-ray standing by. Move. The team swarmed, organized chaos, everyone knowing their role. Ava worked the head of the bed, airway, breathing, circulation. The woman's pressure was dropping. Ava called for blood, for the surgeon, for everything they had. And as she worked, she felt it, the clarity, the purpose, the thing she'd been searching for since Kandahar. It wasn't redemption. That was too clean, too final. It was continuation, the choice to keep going, to keep trying, to keep saving the ones she could. The surgeon arrived, took over. The woman was rushed to the OR. Ava stepped back, breathing hard, scrubs spattered with blood. Diane walked over, handed her a towel. You okay? Yeah. You sure? You've been running nonstop for 6 hours. I'm fine. Diane studied her. You know, when you first started here, I thought you were too soft, too quiet. Wouldn't last a month. And now? Now I think you're the toughest person I've ever worked with. Diane paused. And I'm glad you stayed. Ava almost smiled. Thanks. The shift continued. Patients came. Patients went. Lives saved. Lives lost. The balance that never quite evened out but kept trying anyway. By the time morning came, Ava was exhausted. She clocked out, grabbed her jacket, walked to the parking lot. Riley was waiting, leaning against a car, arms still in a sling but healing. You look like hell, Riley said. Long shift. Heard you saved 4 lives tonight. 3. The 4th was already gone when they brought him in. Riley nodded. Still better than most nights. They stood in comfortable silence. Then Riley said, Moss called me. They found one of Kozlov's safe houses in Prague. Empty. She's gone underground. She'll surface eventually. And when she does? Ava looked at the hospital, at the lights in the ER windows, at the people inside still fighting. When she does, someone will handle it. But it doesn't have to be me. Riley raised an eyebrow. You mean that? I do. I spent 2 years running from the past. I'm done. This is where I belong now. What if Kozlov comes back here, comes after you again? Then I'll deal with it. But I'm not spending my life waiting for her. That's what she wants, to make me afraid, to make me run. And you're not afraid? Ava thought about it. I'm terrified. But I'm staying anyway. Riley smiled. Good, because I just took a job. What job? Security consultant. For this hospital. Board hired me to overhaul their protocols. Make sure no one like Collier gets in again. Ava laughed. You're kidding. Nope. Turns out getting kidnapped by Russian spies looks great on a resume. Who knew? So you're staying too. Someone's got to watch your back. They stood together as the sun came up over Crescent Point, the city waking, another day beginning. Coffee? Riley asked. Yeah, coffee sounds good. They walked to Riley's car, got in, drove toward the harbor where a diner was just opening. And for the first time in 2 years, Ava felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. Not the naive kind. Not the kind that believed everything would be okay, but the kind that said, even if it's not okay, I'll keep trying. Even if I fail, I'll get up and try again. Even if the world doesn't thank me, I'll do it anyway, because that's what it meant to be strong, not fearless, not unbreakable, but persistent. And Ava Lane was nothing if not persistent. What? 6 months after that, the hospital held a memorial for Paulo Dominguez, for the staff members lost to Collier's network, for the patients who died in the chemical fire before Ava had stepped in. Ava stood in the back, watching, listening. The hospital board unveiled a plaque dedicated to those who'd served with honor, who'd sacrificed.
Dr. Hale spoke about resilience, about rebuilding, about moving forward without forgetting. When it was over, people mingled, shared stories, remembered. A woman approached Ava, mid-30s, holding a toddler. Nurse Lane? Yes? I'm Maria Dominguez, Paulo's wife. Ava's breath caught. I'm so sorry. Don't, please. Maria's eyes were kind but firm. I know what happened. The FBI told me. I know Paulo was targeted because of something that happened overseas, something you were all part of. It was my fault. No, it was a man named Vorobev's fault. You didn't kill my husband. You tried to stop it, and you got the people responsible. Ava didn't know what to say. Maria reached out, took her hand. Paulo talked about you after he got out. He said you were the best officer he ever served under, that you made the hard calls so the rest of them didn't have to, that you carried the weight so they could sleep. Tears stung Ava's eyes. I should have carried it better. You carried it the only way you could, and you're still carrying it, still trying to make it right. That's all anyone can do. The toddler squirmed. Maria adjusted her hold. This is Sophia, Paulo's daughter. He never got to meet her, but I tell her about him every day, about how brave he was, how he served, how he mattered. Ava looked at the little girl, dark eyes, Paulo's eyes. She's beautiful. She is. And when she's older, I'll tell her about you too. About the woman who fought to bring his killer to justice, who didn't give up. Maria squeezed Ava's hand once more, then walked away. Ava stood alone, tears streaming down her face. She'd spent 2 years thinking she was running from guilt, but maybe she'd been running from forgiveness, from the possibility that she'd done the best she could in an impossible situation, from the idea that she deserved to keep living, keep trying, keep mattering. She wiped her eyes, turned, and walked back into the hospital. 1 year later. Ava stood in front of a room full of nursing students. Guest lecture. Crisis management and emergency medicine. She'd been reluctant when Hale suggested it, but he'd insisted, said her experience was too valuable not to share. So here she was, talking about triage, about making decisions under pressure, about living with the outcomes. A student raised her hand. Nurse Lane, how do you handle it when you make the wrong call? Ava paused, thought about Kandahar, about Paulo, about all the calls she'd made that hadn't gone the way she'd hoped. You don't handle it, she said finally. You carry it, and you use it to make the next call better. You don't forget. You don't pretend it didn't happen, but you also don't let it stop you from trying again. Another student. What if you're not sure you can? Try anyway. The people who need you don't care if you're sure. They just need you to show up. The lecture ended. Students filed out. One lingered. Nurse Lane, I just wanted to say, I was in the ER the night of the chemical fire. I was a patient, smoke inhalation. You were the one who triaged me, put me in the respiratory isolation area. Ava remembered, vaguely, there'd been so many that night. Glad you're okay. I am, because of you, and I wanted you to know you're the reason I'm here. Learning to do what you do. I want to be the person who shows up. The student smiled, then left. Ava stood alone in the empty classroom, and she realized something. She'd spent so long thinking her legacy was the people she'd failed to save, but maybe her real legacy was the people she'd inspired to try. The ones who'd seen her fight, seen her bleed, seen her get back up, and decided to do the same. That night, Ava sat in the break room, alone, quiet. Her phone buzzed. A message from an encrypted number she'd seen before but never saved. The offer still stands, when you're ready. K. Ava stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it, blocked the number, and went back to work. Because Kozlov was wrong. Ava had made her choice, not to run, not to hide, not to burn the world down in pursuit of ghosts, but to stay, to build, to save the people she could reach, one patient at a time, one shift at a time, one choice at a time. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't clean, it wasn't the Hollywood ending where all the villains were caught and all the wounds healed, but it was real, and real was enough. 2 years after that, Crescent Point General opened a new wing, dedicated to trauma care, state-of-the-art equipment,
expanded staff. Ava stood at the ribbon cutting, not on the stage, just in the crowd. Dr. Hale was speaking, thanking donors, thanking staff, talking about the future. Then he paused. Before we cut this ribbon, I want to recognize someone. Someone who saved this hospital when it needed saving most, who exposed corruption, who fought for patients when no one else would, who proved that one person in the right place at the right time can change everything. He looked directly at Ava. Nurse Ava Lane, would you come up here? Ava shook her head, tried to fade back. The crowd turned, started clapping. Riley, standing next to her, gave her a shove. Go. Reluctantly, Ava walked forward. Hale handed her the scissors. You should cut this ribbon. None of this happens without you. That's not true. It is, and everyone here knows it. Ava looked at the crowd, at the faces. Some she recognized, some she'd saved, some she'd worked beside. All of them looking at her with something she'd never expected. Respect. She cut the ribbon. The crowd erupted in applause. And Ava, who'd spent years being underestimated, dismissed, and discarded, finally understood. She wasn't invisible. She'd never been. She'd just been waiting for people to see her clearly. And now they did. That night, alone in her apartment, Ava sat by the window. The city spread out below, lights flickering, lives continuing. She thought about the journey, about where she'd started, about where she'd ended up. She thought about Paolo, about Riley, about Jason, about the team she'd lost and the team she'd found, about the person she'd been and the person she'd become. She wasn't the same woman who'd walked into Crescent Point 2.5 years ago. That woman had been running. This woman was standing still. That woman had been hiding. This woman was visible. That woman had been ashamed. This woman was learning to be proud, not of the mistakes. Those would always hurt, but of what she'd built in spite of them. Ava's phone buzzed. A message from Hale. Night shift tomorrow. You in? She smiled, typed back. Always. Because that was the truth. She was always in. Always showing up, always trying. Not because she was fearless, but because she'd learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was the choice to act anyway. And Ava Lane, quiet, underestimated, unstoppable, had been making that choice every day for 2.5 years. And she'd keep making it. For as long as people needed her, for as long as she could stand, for as long as it took. Because that's what it meant to be strong, not to never fall, but to always get back up. And Ava Lane wasn't done getting up yet, not by a long shot. Not. The end.